omega-3 rich linseed and had validated these omega-3 products for human health and had popularized and commercialized omega-3 products. With this brief introduction, I welcome Dr. Hegde, sir, by presenting the virtual bouquet. Welcome, sir. Now I request sir to take us to the journey of evolution of real-world nutrition, a laboratory foundation, or BVDU's initiative for the omega-3 revolution. Please, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Need to go into some details of how this all happened and why did it happen? What is the actual need for it? These are the things which I will narrate because that is the most important thing. If you want to take up any startup, for that matter, any goal in your life, it should have some objective and some benefit to the society. So from that point of view, for any startup to be evolved, you have to identify a problem which is unmet, because it is needed by the society. That you have to first identify, conceptualize the idea, innovate a process by which you can solve the problem, and discuss, debate, decide, validate, which fortunately I have a good pharmacy graduate from the PCP who is with me to validate, then pilot a small scale. For that I have ML Panse, who is actually taking up the process to be established in the real world. He is the managing director, commercialize and market. So these are the steps that we need. I will go back to this slide again at the last, after I talk about how did we get into this. Scientific facts that I have come across and understood and felt a necessity to address those problems as best as I can. Firstly, I must say that the life on this planet is a miracle. How did it happen? Actually, this is an important point that we need to look at fresh again and see how we can understand why life had got formed, how did it get formed, and how did it survive for these many years, 3.5 billion years, and how did it develop into human being, a very super organism, that say, with limited capacity, and there are some shortcomings in the whole development, which we have to understand so that we can live a healthy life. Firstly, it must be understood that life originated on this planet when there was no oxygen. No oxygen, the four elements, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, these existed in a reduced formula, and today they are existing in an oxidized form. Take, for instance, carbon. Carbon was CH4, now it is CO2. Hydrogen was H2, now it is H2O. O was OH2, and now it is O2. N is NH3 and N2. So the whole atmosphere has got changed from the time that the life originated 3.5 billion years ago. And now we are in oxidizing atmosphere, and life could not have originated now. It could only originate then. And now we have to see how to live in this atmosphere and to remain healthy. So the Earth there are sudden changes in the atmosphere took place with the photosynthesis coming into picture. That photosynthesis could fix the CO2 by help of sunlight and evolve oxygen. And therefore, the whole Earth got engulfed in oxygen. The oxygen-less atmosphere got converted into oxygen, full of the oxygen atmosphere, in which we are living today. So, if you look at the clock of this the Earth, and think that we are 24 hours is the period in which must have come only after about only about 15 minutes back. So if that is the case, that he is the most recent addition on this planet. So the most important point that I'd like to bring to your notice is the second law of thermodynamics. Spontaneous process occur in direction that increase overall disorder of the universe. This is the most important thing, that the life got formed in this planet by defeating entropy. If it could not defeat entropy, life would not have, because the life is an order and death is a disorder, and death is a certainty because the entropy has the last laugh. So free radicals, which produces oxidative stress, are agents of entropy, and that is leading to aging, disease, and death. So if you look at the two processes that are mainly allowing the life to get continue, one is the photosynthesis, other is the respiration. Photosynthesis is a process wherein carbon dioxide is taken in and oxygen is evolved. Food is formed, which we are dependent on. On the hand, respiration is a process where the food is oxidized by the oxygen and CO2 is evolved, and that respiration. However, both these processes are a process which are responsible for defeating entropy, generating reducing power. The two molecules, as a biochemist, I can say, NADH and NADPH, these are the two reduced molecules which are important to defeat entropy. And when these molecules are produced in sufficient amount, we are continuously able to defeat entropy and defeat disease, defeat death. So what is required is to see that we produce NADPH, NADH. NADH is responsible for the ATP that we produce, that the energy required for our body. NADPH is what makes the food molecules are taken into our body and converted into our body. Our body is daily changing, and it is getting formed from the food that we eat. So as long as we are able to defeat entropy, the food is actually responsible for to give us energy and give us the power to defeat entropy, and that is the part of the food. So food is extremely important, and we have to see what kind of food that we eat and what it should contain, and how we can live a happy and healthy life. So the important thing that I mentioned was that there is the free radicals. What kind of free radicals? More particularly, I will mention the reactive oxygens, which is O2, H2O2, OH, and HOCl. All these free radicals are produced in the mitochondria, where the oxygen is where the cell respiration is taking place, where the oxygen is used. Inevitably, certain amount of oxygen is converted to the $30 trillion cells. 30 trillion cells. You can count the number of zeros that I put there, 14 zeros. And every cell is attacked by 1.5 into 10⁵ hits per day. So you have to see that this the attack is neutralized by sufficient amount of antioxidants. Unless otherwise, you tackle these terrorists that are all the time working for the entropy to take you to disease and death, you are not going to live a healthy life. Now let's take the redox. Redox, so I am mentioning this even before mentioning the importance of other constituents in the food. I am mentioned very emphatically, emphasizing the importance of redox state to life. So life with the free radicals, it will be it is the main the agent for aging. It takes you to disease and ultimately death. Now take the instance of cancer. What happens in cancer? Cancer is a state wherein it is able to defeat entropy, conquer entropy, and it becomes immortal. It doesn't die. That is the ability that cancer achieves. And so every cell wants to survive. And if a very bad condition is there and that the cell is not able to survive, it can manage to survive under by seeing to it that it doesn't produce enough of reactive oxygen species. It shuts off the mitochondria where the cell respiration takes place. It depends on the glycolysis so that it will be able to survive. So that kind of changes that cancer cell can bring about to remain immortal. We have to see that we have to reduce our reactive oxygen species production by taking those kind of food which will produce least amount of free radical. So one of the major things that is happening today is that we take too much of carbohydrates, and that oxidation of that will you have to oxidize them. So if you are oxidizing them, you are also simultaneously producing large amount of free radicals. So that is one thing that is happening. So if you want to defeat the entropy, you have to take sufficient antioxidant. As I will explain, the plant, vegetarian food is richer in antioxidant than non-vegetarian food. Another important point that one may miss is that we are crippled in evolution. Now when we started with the Human Genome Project, there we thought that we have 100,000 genes, because the whole idea of Human Genome Project was to make more money, more pharma products, and get so that every gene we will have certain responsible gene. We can design drugs so that we can have a healthier life through food, through drug. But what happened that the man has only 19,000 genes. Earlier they were thinking that we have 100,000 genes. Today we know that there are only 19,000 genes. Take for instance rice plant, which I was shown in the background. It has 50,000 genes. Why 50,000 genes? Man is more complex. Man must have more genes. That is the thought. But actually speaking, the plant has more genes than man. Man is provided with lesser number of genes so that he can give more energy to his brain, which is more vital for his survival than any other organ. So 19,000 genes are you have to survive with 19,000 genes, and the remaining the support of the products that are required for our living, that vitamins, amino acids, essential amino acids, those are required for our body, that are made by the plants but can't be made by us. 2 fatty acids, omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids. These are required, and we are not able to make it. We are not provided with those genes, and those therefore we are dependent. So we are crippled. If you are able to understand this, only if you are able to supply all this constantly, continuously, consistently, then only you will be able to have a good, healthy body. Food for thought, think of food. So think of food is a surprise revelation from the Human Genome Project. Now let's see here. There are some essentials, some obligatory, some must constituents required in our food. Carbohydrate, protein, fat, and water, they are bulk food. They are obligatory. They are needed. There are the antioxidants, as I mentioned, they are must. Without that, you are not able to have a good, healthy life, because you have to defeat entropy. You need these green vegetables, fruits, supplement, vitamin C, vitamin E, coenzyme Q10, etc. But these have no genes to make the 10 amino acids. Water-soluble vitamins, fat-soluble vitamin A, D, E, K, fatty acids, and minerals. Minerals are not actually made, but they are needed. So many of the proteins work in collaboration or in cooperation of the metals, the minerals, which are actually either part of the protein, or they are helping the enzyme reactions. So these are essentials, and these must be given. And we have to always remember that we have crippled in evolution. So good food provided living system, self-reproducing, self-adjusting, self-repairing. Among the factors affecting health, genes, environment, and food. Only food is under genes. We can't help. We don't choose our parents. We have to live with it, like it or not. Environment is more of the collective responsibility of all of us. Food is something which is completely under our control. And if you know that you have to have a good healthy food, and you know what is required in the food, you can always live a happy life, healthy life. Essential nutrient food, must enough food. Living system is dynamic, renews itself from food. It is never too late to return to good food nutrition, because your body is continuously changing from the food that you eat. Old cells die, new cells are formed. So when the new cells are being formed, they are being formed from the food that you eat. Therefore, you are able to change your body anytime without, it is never too late to turn to good nutrition. So medicines are good, but they cannot be substitute for food. Good food can actually eliminate the need for medicine. The food that you eat are processed by the human body. Trillions of cells are there. The millions of reactions that take place to convert the food into your body, get energy, and also generate new cells. Also produce free radicals, reactive oxygen species, which have to be also neutralized to keep that for slowing aging process, disease, or to survive for a long time. All this happens by touch, feel, and act, convert to your body. Whatever comes, the communication between the molecules that take place inside your body is to touch, feel, and act. So the enzyme substrate, DNA to positive strand and negative strand, or the DNA to RNA, or receptor to ligand, antigen to antibody, everything is complementary, and they talk to each other or communicate with each other by touch, feel, and act. So this is important to understand, that whatever molecules come into your body through the food or through the drug, they have to be friendly with the molecules that are allowing us to live. So the human body knows no pathies. I would say this very emphatically, whether it is allopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, herbal, naturopathy, Reiki healing, cosmic healing, psychotherapy. No, you can mention many, but they are all there. They are definitely helpful. Nothing can substitute from any pathies, but the nutritionopathy. That nutrition requirement have to met. It is mandatory for you. Only if you do that, then you can look for, if any disease occurs, you can look for any pathies for rescue. So another important theory that I like to mention here is that is this man you must be knowing, Bruce Ames. Ames test is very common test that is used to see whether any food is containing any carcinogens. Carcinogens are necessarily mutagens actually. So therefore, Ames develop how to detect the carcinogens by what is known as Ames test. So this man lately, or I should say recently, he has put up a theory called trias theory, and he has proved it. What it says is that the nutrients that you take, they serve the vital functions or vital organs first. Now, if you are not eating sufficient vitamins, let's say you are eating you require 100 micrograms, you are getting only 50 micrograms. Then what the body does is to supply these nutrients to only the essential functions and essential organ first, and the other organs get deprived. For instance, if you have heart is a very vital organ. If the heart doesn't function, you are going to die. So it's important for survival. But when you supply your nutrient, prioritizing it to heart, you are depriving those nutrients to, let us say, liver or kidney, because those organs are not that important, as important as the heart to survive. So you are favoring short-term survival. But what happens in the process is that the heart and kidney or even eyes or your ears, which in late age you start, you have vision problem, you are hearing problem. These problems precipitate because you are not supplied enough of nutrient throughout your life. Your heart continues to beat, but your eyes are not helping you to say. So your quality of life gets suffered. So supporting all the organs all the time requires the enough of vitamins and the omega-3, omega-6 fatty acids, so that all the organs are functioning normally. So most of the time, what happens is that we think that we have got our body is functioning very well. I have no problem. I have nothing. I'm very healthy. That is the feeling that gets. Absence of disease is not necessarily an indication of perfect health. Absence of disease is not necessarily an indication of perfect health. Because now, if you take the instance of this the work that Dr. Ames, Bruce Ames had done, he took vitamin K as an example to prove his theory. If vitamin K, is an important vitamin required for blood clotting. If the blood does not coagulate, you can bleed to death. So it's the most important function that vitamin K has. But is it the only function? No. It has other functions like bone building, and it is required for to prevent you from osteoporosis, protecting the heart, atherosclerosis. So many other functions are there. So if you can consider that it is the vitamin K which is important for only blood clotting, and you give something like 90 micrograms, it may not be enough, because that is you have titrated and the blood clotting as the important factor for which the vitamin K is required, and then you fix your RDA according to that. Then you may find that you are given enough, but may not be enough, and you need to have more of this vitamin. And some scientists now feel that we need about 240 micrograms of. So this is the situation. Actually, we need to. Many people are worried about: are we taking excess of vitamins? I don't believe that we don't take excess of vitamins. We are taking much less than what we need. So another important thing is survival of the sickest. What the nature is doing is trying to favor the short-term survival rather than long-term survival, as I mentioned earlier. the short-term survival is when you think that your heart continues to beat even at the cost of giving sufficient nutrients to other organs. But in the natural selection also does in the same way. In the malarial belt, where the thalassemia is there. What happens is that if thalassemia or sickle cell anemia, these are they grow. That happens because of the insufficient amount of the beta protein or the alpha protein of the hemoglobin made in the RBCs. So if the RBCs are sickle cell, or if they are thalassemmic, then these deadly the protozoan, the Plasmodium, the malarial parasite, cannot grow there. So if that is the case, if the people have to live, not die, the malaria is a deadly disease. Thalassemia is a disease which can allow you to suffer longer, but you will continue to survive. That disease becomes disease prevails, and malaria is eliminated. That is the way the becomes suffering long. So what do you want? You want to live long and healthy. If you take look at the typical cell, if you have so many organelles within the cell, every one of them is surrounded by membrane. Every one of them is surrounded by. They are selecting the microenvironment. What is to be created within the cell is governed by the membrane. It is actually the microenvironment which allows you to perform the life functions. Now you take this slide. This is a slide from the Bruce Lipton's Biology of Physics. Excellent book that you should read. And that says there is a membrane which is supreme, not the DNA. We always think that DNA is supreme molecule here. It is able to make RNA and protein. Your whole life is made out from these two steps of that is transcription and translation. But that is not the case. DNA function is governed by the environmental signals that is processed and regulated by the membrane and supplied to inside the membrane to DNA to function. All evolution takes place because of the environment. Environment dictates the evolution. So this process of DNA to RNA to protein, this is had to proceed with the membrane. Membrane means also you can add brain to the membrane. It is really the brain of the cell which governs all the process. So cells are, as a matter of fact, miniature humans. They eat every cell in your body. I mentioned that there are 30 trillion cells in your body. Each cell has to eat, digest, breathe, excrete, and exit the waste matter. Membrane which governs life within the cell as dictated by the environment, and therefore membrane can be regarded as the brain of the cell. Single-celled life forms originated within 600 million years after the Earth was first formed, and for the next 2.75 billion years, only free living cell called celled organism, bacteria, algae. Community of cells, socially interactive, millions of billions of even trillions of cells as biological composition. For efficient living, survive in harmony, individual cells became tissues, assumed specialized tasks, and became organs. These organized collection of cellular communities formed organisms, plants, animals, including most sophisticated, complicated human beings. DHA. Now, DHA is the main. Now I'm coming to close to our talk and our whole mission, that is omega-3 fatty acids. DHA is the omega-3 fatty acids, which makes the hardware of the brain. If you consider human brain as a computer, it is the DHA which is the hardware. It has an important development. So in the development of human brain, DHA is an important role. DHA as the hardware of the brain. DHA is the neural cell proliferation, migration, differentiation. DHA decreases then ADHD and schizophrenia, etc. So omega-3 fatty acids play a major role in evolution of man, providing him the smartest brain, provided with increased ability to interact with environment and better adaptability to every diverse adverse environment and survive. But is he taking the advantage of his brain to survive better or not? Is the question that I'm trying to answer. So the ability of an organism to process information about its environment is the driving force behind evolution. That is why you got a brain. You got this ability to sense the environment and to live healthier. More information the brain receives, faster it can process, better it responds to environmental challenges, better it will have a chances to survival. Therefore, a complex human contains about 100 billion neurons, more than 100,000 kilometers of interconnections, and has an estimated storage capacity of 1.25 into 10 raised to 12 bytes. So why we got into this? Omega-3 fatty acids are endangered nutrient. Why did it become endangered? So all these questions I will try to answer, and why we got into this, that also I will answer. Now, if you consider the man 10 raised to 6, 10 lakh years ago, when man started walking on this planet, he was actually hunter-gatherer. Actually, most of the time, 99% of the time that man has lived on this planet, he was in the forest as a hunter-gatherer. Only recently, at about 10,000 years ago, he became he started agriculture. That was much easier way of living than hunting and gathering. So, therefore he became an agriculture. He selected few of the plants to help him. And about 100, 200 years ago, we became industrial. So all this has affected our lifestyle, and it has affected so suddenly, and it particularly affected the fat and fatty acid intake. And the consequence is that we are living in a state of health which cannot be regarded as good health. So omega-3 fatty acids are an endangered nutrient. There is an imbalance, lot of stress. So that our intake of omega-6 is too high, as I will come to that point a little later. And vegetables and these green vegetables or antioxidant intake is very low. So modern food is deficient in omega-3 fatty acids, excessive in omega-6 fatty acids. There is an imbalance of omega-3 and omega-6. There is, say, omega-3 fatty acids as anti-inflammatory, omega-6 fatty acids are inflammatory. If there is a dominance of, if there is excessive intake of omega-6, naturally inflammation is very high in our body. There is dominance of inflammation in our body. Moderate responsible for phenomenal increase in severity and incidences of degenerative disease because of this imbalance. Omega-3 is hardware of the brain, is also important component of mother and child health. So omega-3, we are undernourished. Omega-6, we are overnourished. Trans fat, we are malnourished. This is the situation of good, bad, and healthy fatty acid that we have. This is not just the problem of India. You can see here, this is the most advanced countries we recognize, America, Canada. If they are also in the same situation as we are, it is a global problem. It's not the problem of India. So the whole world is suffering from this, the pandemic, I should say, and which Corona is a come and go pandemic. This is the pandemic that is remaining for long, and unless we recognize and treat this pandemic, we are not going to be healthy. So this is important that we tackle this problem and threadbare, and so that we can solve this problem. That is the thinking that we had. We are a very small organization. We tried our best under the circumstances. We got, at least we know how it can be solved. I cannot say that we have made any big impact on the life of the people in the country, but we have shown the way. We can see that we can, if it is acceptable, then you can all join the crusade and help to see that we have succeed in solving this problem of excessive omega-6 fatty acid and low amount of omega-3. How we can resolve this? Omega-3 fatty acids, Anand will explain it more. I will not get understanding this problem. We compiled the data from lots of the experts in the omega-3 fatty acids, collected their articles and put our own 11 articles into this book. Anand and me, we edited this book and published, and it was a Springer book, which is now considered to be a good reference book on omega-3 fatty acid, which is an important reference for many people. So omega-3, why omega-3 became such a crucial nutrient? It is because of our lifestyle changes that has occurred in the last few years. After industrialization, people have started making food which is more easily available, fast food, and the food that is already cooked, and you can just come and boil and take it. And all these, the easy way of living has, to some extent, spoiled our nutritional content. And the vegetable oils, one would not like to use the omega-3 fatty acids in any food preparations, because omega-3 fatty acids, as I have shown here, there are 3 double bonds here, and these 3 double bonds make it very unstable, and therefore it is important to go for saturated fat, which is palm oil and those fats which are cholesterogenic, but they are favored in the food products that are manufactured by many people. At the most, one can say that we can have omega-6 fat. If there is an omega-6 fat is there, then also it is, as I told you, omega-6 is also essential fatty acid, but it is excessive. So all the products that are industrially available, most of them have problems with the fatty acids. And because omega-3 fatty acids are not doesn't have long shelf life, therefore it is avoided by the industrialists to suit marketability. So bring back omega-3 fatty acid food chain becomes the cry of the people, but not the industry. Industry is still thinking that longer the shelf life, longer it can stay on the shelf, and it can be they can make more profit on it. So evolution of the Real World Nutritional Laboratory Foundation is to identify unmet need and the problem. That is the omega-3 fatty acid deficiency, as I mentioned, the way it has happened in the modern diet. We have considered source. It is the source which is which should be promoted, so that we can make the make omega-3 fatty acid more available to the people. So it is easier said than done. It is not that simple that I say that, okay, linseed is a very rich in omega-3 fatty acid. Then what is the problem? So that is the problem is that linseed is not readily edible. It has lots of problems. Linseed is a neglected crop. So many problems are that. We have innovated a concept. Hello?
This name is scan.
Flax bioavailability tackle. What is that? Can I? Hello? Somebody talks something. Flax bioavailability. Yes. You want to ask any question?
No, sir. You were asking something. That's why I.
So, is there a problem in am I audible? Clear?
Yes, sir. You are audible, and the slides are also visible. You continue, sir.
Flax. So, innovate. Our innovation was flax bioavailability to tackle the problem. Farm to fork. Discuss, debate, and decided. So, we discussed this problem, and we approached the ICAR, and we got the two major projects to help us in this develop this problem into a solution, and that is the two projects: sustainable rural livelihood security for backward, where district of Maharashtra, wherein we put linseed as a means of sustainable rural livelihood, and then second project was linseed value addition, which gave us this linseed value addition center here in Bharati. And then we were asked to form this real world nutrition laboratory, because earlier we had this linseed oil extraction plant in Sangamner, because Pune is not a backward district. We were forced to by the government to put it in a backward district. We chose Sangamner, which is very close, not very close, 160 kilometers yet, but I was not happy. Was not accepting to go to Chandrapur or Yavatmal and these areas which are traditionally growing linseed. So we put the plant in Sangamner, which was inaugurated by our late founder, Patangram Katam. And that we had to shift it in 2015 to real world. And we were asked to take all the machineries only on condition that we will continue to support the farmers. We had about 925 farmers at the time. And this is a flax by village concept. So all the different products that one can make from linseed by enriching them with omega-3, so that we can bring back omega-3 fatty acid into the food chain. And the linseed you can see here, and see it has about 40% oil and 55 to 60% omega-3, very, very rich in omega-3. But it also contains, there are several problems with the linseed. This is a neglected crop in India. There is a low production, which were remedied by choosing a crop, a variety of linseed, which is rich in linseed and as well as resistant to diseases. This allowed us to grow more of this variety, linseed variety of PKV NL260. There was low productivity. This variety was good for growing, and it was giving more yield. So it was not lucrative to the farmer. Linseed was not, they were not happy to grow linseed, because we added value to linseed by producing omega-3 and rich products. There was we were able to get more money to them. They were getting more yield, and they were also getting more money. So they slowly shifted to linseed. And so we were also in that period only, we were linked to another company called Ensign Diet Care for the market linkage. And we could show that the products can be marketed to the government. And that is how this real world nutrition lab came up. So that linseed is a superfood, not really edible. There are problems. There is hydrogen glycoside, which and then there is linatin, anti-vitamin B6, Then there is an phytoestrogen which can bring about abortion in the early pregnancy. So all these are there in that. So you can't just, because linseed has a very high omega-3, you can't just go and eat it. So these problems had to be tackled. We found technological solutions to these problems, and then these slides show how we have been able to change the mindset of the farmers to grow the linseed, and because it has started giving from 150 kg per hectare to 750 kg per hectare. So in the rain set 822 kg and 1750 kg per hectare in irrigated state. So there was the transformation, and we were able to, if you can see here, they were earlier getting traditional practice 6,939 rupees. This is the figure which is with the government. The rain fed, they were getting this much income. Now with the irrigation, they are getting almost 10 times what they were getting earlier. So therefore, they were happy to shift to linseed. Linseed became the cash crop and then if we have also seen that the straw of the linseed is able to convert into fiber. Of course, this is not yet commercialized, or we are not standardized this process, but we know that if we can use the straw, then what will happen is that they will also get money from the fiber, and then we can double the income of the farmer. So this was very much appreciated by the government, our efforts, and the linseed plant that we had at Sanganer, we shifted here, and so at this point, I would like to tell you something about edible oil that we consume at home. Edible oils are actually, so many edible oils are there, which are either saturated fatty acids or omega-6 fatty acids. They are rich in omega-6 fat. There are few which are having omega-9 rich. Olive oil has been considered to be one of the best oil because only it is a monosaturated fat. Omega-9 is a monosaturated fat. Omega-3 has 3 double bonds or more, actually. If you go to EPA and DHA, the saturated fat has no. So therefore, saturated fat is the safest fatty acid, which is stable to heat because it cannot get oxidized to make peroxides. Therefore, there is omega-3 is not acceptable in edible oil. Omega-6 is, if there are too much of omega-6 fatty acids or the saturated fat. Saturated fat is cholesterogenic, omega-6 fat is inflammatory. So both are not actually good. And the edible oil today, what we are taking, most of the edible oils are either saturated fat or the omega-6 fat. So the answer to this problem has been to blend the oil, which I'm sure Anand will describe it in detail. And if you can see this sunflower oil, which has a very high amount of unsaturation, they produce a lot of the peroxides, which are much more in commercial frying because they eat the oil for longer time. And the safest oil is coconut oil, which is the least amount. It contains more saturated. So therefore, it is it produces least amount of this one. So therefore, the one likes to think that ghee, which is saturated fat, it may be better option for frying. So, but the Anand has found a better solution to that. Ghee can be a very good source for cooking, provided it contains a small amount of linseed oil. So he will present that, and you will be happy to see how ghee can be transformed into a good. It can be transferred into a good cooking medium. So this we started with the saturated fat. People start feeling good about it. Even unsaturated fats were hydrogenated and were released because it contains, it was organoleptic properties of a saturated fat is better than the oil. So therefore, the people started liking. So hydrogenated fat was very, very common. But soon it was realized that the hydrogenated fat is increasing heart problem, it's cholesterogenic. Then they changed over to omega-6. The omega-6 was also not actually helping to reduce heart problems, because omega-6 was later recognized that it is actually inflammatory. And that's why the changing over from saturated fat to omega-6 fat was also not a welcome thing. So it was a blunder of the 20th century to go to the omega-6 fat. It was definitely lowering cholesterol, but it was not decreasing the problem of cardiovascular diseases and other diseases. So in 2013, the Artemov Sevopoulos, who can be considered as the pioneer in the revolution of omega-3 fatty acid research in the whole world, she advised all the policymakers in the different countries to adopt a policy so as to decrease the omega-6 to 3 ratio. So, which we now know is actually the problem that we are facing today. So we have to reduce the omega-6 fatty acids and increase omega-3 fatty acids so that we can lead a healthy life. So if you can see this graph, iodine value versus is on the top, flaxseed or linseed oil is on the top. So this is the most stable, it is least stable, because unsaturation is very high, iodine value is high. So the olive oil is sitting somewhere here, which is actually considered to be the best cooking oil, because it is having only one unsaturation. So it is not cholesterogenic. It can lower cholesterol, and therefore, and it doesn't produce peroxide much because it has got only one such double bond. Whereas these fatty acids, these oils, soybean, groundnut, mustard, safflower, sunflower, sesame, these are the, I think, some of you might be consuming any one of these oils. All these oils are here, and they are having unsaturated fatty acid, and they are producing, when you cook, when you are particularly fry, that time you produce peroxide, which is not healthy for you. So what we did, particularly among this, the oil, the safflower oil, we took up another project from the ICR, wherein we treated the safflower seeds with the mutagens and planted them in the Nari Dimkar Agriculture Research Institute in Fulton, and then we brought them here. Every seed that was planted, the seeds that were produced at the end of the season after harvest, we brought it to the Bharatiya Vidyapith Sind lab and estimated the fatty acids, and we selected those plants which are producing, wherein the delta-12 enzyme is inactivated. And now with the inactivation or the shutting off this enzyme, linoleic acid is not produced. Instead of that, oleic acid gets accumulated. The increase in oleic acid was confirmed. About 28 plants with the level of oleic acid more than 76 to up to 80% oleic acid is equivalent to the olive oil. We selected them, those plant seeds, and replanted. And for 3 consecutive years, it was planted in the project at Nari. And now those seeds have been taken and put in Nagpur by Dr. Gurpre, who is also our collaborator. And those seeds are now, another 4 years, they have been producing high oleic. And after 7 generation, they will be released by the government. And now we will have high oleic, the safflower seeds produced and developed by Bharati Vidyapeeth to be given to farmers so that we will get a good oil for cooking. And what I have to say is that these two, omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, are processed by the same set of enzymes in the liver. And when you have excess of these fatty acids, the omega-6 fatty acids, if you get too much of these fatty acids which are inflammatory, the eicosanoids that are produced from it are inflammatory. Omega-3 fatty acids, on the other hand, it produces anti-inflammatory molecules. Therefore, when you have enough of, fortunately, these enzymes are preferentially act on omega-3 rather than omega-6. And therefore, in the presence of omega-3, less of conversion of this can happen. So inflammation can be reduced by the presence of omega-3. Plus, if you can reduce omega-6, then you can have, if a ratio of omega-6 to 3 was about 1:1 when we were hunter-gatherer, still for a long time, it was 6 and 3 was 1:1. And today we can think that because the omega-3 fatty acids are favored or liked by these enzymes, so we can have a ratio of 1:5. So if you have one omega-3 fatty acids, at the most you should have 5 omega-6 fatty acids, no more. But if we have analyzed the blood fatty acids of many patients in our lab, in the real world nutrition lab, thousands of patients, and we find 98% of the people have very high omega-6 and very low omega-3. Omega-3 index, which is known famous, is not acceptable. So therefore, if you can change this ratio by simply consuming more omega-3 and less of omega-6, I think we will have reduced lots of non-communicable diseases. This is the inflammation, how it occurs. And these are the, this is the picture of the skewed omega-6-3 ratio and NCD manage. So when there is increase in this ratio, these diseases, non-communicable diseases, will increase. If you are able to decrease it, it will the anti-inflammatory agent like omega-3, there will be decrease in these diseases. Now I have listed here cancer, cardiovascular disease, respiratory disorder, diabetes, mental illness, mother and child health, infertility, and geriatric health, violence, road accidents, suicide. So you'll be wondering why I have put all these into this slide, and how can I justify that this omega-3 fatty acids, which was so much not known to be very important so far. How are you connecting them to all these diseases? And you are saying that these are the diseases which are aggravated because of the absence of omega-3 fatty acids in our food. And the omega-6 is too high. And the obesity, I will just rush through because already I have crossed, it is 7 minutes after 3. So I must rush now. The obesity, then the hypertension, omega-3 balance improves lipid profile and thereby reduces cardiovascular disease. Fatty acids are important, membrane fluidity, insulin resistance. Because there's type 2 diseases is a problem of insulin resistance, and that is the problem of receptor. So receptor is embedded in the membrane. Membrane, if it a high omega-3, the fluidity of the membrane will see the resistance will be, sensitivity of the insulin can be increased. So cancer is another relation is very well known. And respiratory diseases, we know that it precursors of anti-inflammatory mediators would lower risk of asthma incidence. And mother and child health, there is no need for me to emphasize this because the brain is formed in the third trimester of the pregnancy and later 1 year during the lactation. There is a time that the brain, the hardware of the brain is omega-3, particularly DHA. And unless the mother feeds enough of milk with high omega-3, the brain is not going to be formed well. And so the first third trimester, and plus the first 1 year during lactation. For the making of the brain, there is a necessity of very high omega-3. And the road accidents, higher levels of omega-3 in the brain gives protection and also helps faster recovery from the brain injury. This is also known. And we have done this experiment ourselves with the high omega-3 containing birds. And geriatric health, aging, telomere, life extension. So many, I have got so many slides to say why omega-3 is important in many diseases. I'm only mentioning non-communicable diseases. It doesn't mean that the communicable diseases are also, it is protection against communicable diseases also. Telomeres, this is a repeat nucleotide sequence located at the end of the chromosomes. They shorten, it is related to the lifespan of the cell. The longer the telomere, longer the life. So enzyme telomerase is important in telomere formation, restoration, maintenance. Oxidative stress promotes telomere erosion during replication. High omega-6 indicates associated with shorter telomere length. Lower N6 N3 ratio associated with longer telomere. This can tell you everything, why you can extend your is also as essential fatty acid, but too much of it is actually not very helpful. So violence, hostility, addiction, abuse, all this, there is growing evidence that omega-3 fatty acid could play a role in hostility and violence, in addition to the beneficial effects in substance abuse. Also because of high omega-6. Right? So bone health, osteoporosis, omega-6 needed for bone, rheumatoid arthritis, it can help, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis. Mental illness, brain is because of omega-3 there. And if you have enough of omega-3, you can have a healthy brain. You can function normally for a long time. So mental illness, suicide, etc. is related to omega-3. Infertility is also related to omega-3. Violence, hostility, addiction, abuse, tobacco, and alcoholism is related to omega-3. Omega-3 and hunger index. This is something which we have to understand that during the early period when the brain is actually being formed in the womb and later 1 more year after the birth also, we are our number according to the according to the estimates, we are not having GHI scores are based on the undernourishment, child wasting, child stunting, child health risk mortality. And this is actually hurting our health of our children. And therefore, unless we provide sufficient amount of omega-3 fatty acid to the mother and to the child in the early period, the brain, which is formed by the omega-3 fatty acids, main constituent, that must be supplied in good quantity. The mother's milk is the source for omega-3 fatty acids. Unless mother gets the omega-3 fatty acids, the child would not get that in the milk. Milk from various countries are differing in omega-3 content. It is directly proportional to the amount of omega-3 intake in that nation. And we are one of the worst countries where omega-3 content of the milk, mother's milk, is not as good. Even the United States are not as good. Those countries which are eating fish possibly are having better omega-3 in their mother's milk. So global hunger index, serious problem. The 71-year independence of India has still serious hunger problem. India 100 out of 119 countries behind North Korea, Bangladesh, and I don't think this is a very good picture for our country. Fish oil, linseed oil debate. If you can look at now fish oil is one of the best source of omega-3. But we in Bharatiya Vidyapeeth, we are promoting flax oil or linseed oil. And I must compare these two oils because why I favored or I took flax oil as we took flax oil as a means of getting back omega-3 fatty acid into food chain, because the flax oil will be acceptable to all. The fish oil will be only acceptable. Which is the essential, ultimately functional fatty acid, essential fatty acid. But the ALA is a precursor. The fish oil only contains 30%, whereas flax oil or linseed oil contains 57%. So its source is getting depleted. But flax, if we are able to cultivate enough of linseed and flaxseed is one and the same thing. Flaxseed, then it will be much easier to promote or give omega-3 back into the food chain. So mercury contamination there, it is very safer, highly unsaturated, less stable, less unsaturated, so more stable. Fishy smell is there, nutty flavor is there. Only for non-vegetarian, this is acceptable for all. Only fish eaters can eat fish, but linseed can be eaten by everybody. Serves at the end point, ALA independent benefit it has got interface with ALA to EPA conversion. Vegetarians have better ability to convert ALA to EPA DHA. So then another already I have crossed my 350. I would like to say this about the ALA importance of ALA versus DHA. I think I will skip these slides. Only this slide I'll mention because this is important. See, the aspirin has been promoted, or ibuprofen is also promoted because it is able to block this the prostaglandin formation of arachidonic acid. Prostaglandin peroxide is blocked by the aspirin and ibuprofen. This is omega-6 pathway. This is omega-3 pathway. If you have all the enzymes that are shown earlier, they are common between omega-6 and omega-3. And if the omega-3 is there, then you don't need this. So omega-3 is a better replacer. Is a food. It is the essential fatty acid available from food. Instead of taking aspirin, ibuprofen, you can very well take omega-3 and do away with these medicines. So the brain, although we are, some of us may be just vegetarian, those who are promoting EPA DHA as the fatty acid, essential fatty acid, and undermine the ALA coming from linseed, they must understand that those of us who are not at all eating any fish, still if we have brain, that means we are not having potatoes, but the actual brain, working brain and good brain for that matter. So let us come to real world nutrition laboratory. Pansay, very experienced in earlier career in the industry, has been working for last 6 years with us as a managing director since the inception of this real world nutrition laboratory foundation, which was formed as the constituency in consequence with our NAIP projects, and the various products that are being formed from the linseed can be many, but few of them which we have already in the market: the linseed oil, oil egg, and the feed for the chicks for making these eggs, and the chocolates and many other products. The emulsion we have made can make the milk enriched with omega-3 natural, which is not the case in the bovine milk, which is not containing omega-3. Bovine milk is meant for the calves, and the human milk contains omega-3, and we can enrich the milk with omega-3 by the emulsion that we have made. And we have now got ISO certification. This is our Allwell brand, which says how good is our product. And we have been awarded with the Lockheed Martin Award. And the linseed, you can see relative risk for sudden cardiac death is related to the omega-3 content in the body. And there are several tests, and these omega-3 levels in the blood is performed in our real-world literature lab, and we can understand what is the level that we have. And you can also know that instead of doing all this the tests that CRP or homocysteine or the total cholesterol, adenocyte, the HDL, and so many other parameters that you normally look at for heart health. It is good for you to look at the omega-3 levels and understand the omega-6 to 3 ratio or AAPA ratio or EPA, DHA, and omega-3 index will be very helpful for you to understand the level. And we have analyzed thousands of samples from the blood of the patients or those who give their blood. And we have found 98% of the people are in the danger level. So this is the situation. And sooner we understand this, sooner we attack this problem, and sooner we start consuming good amount of omega-3, we will not be able to get better health. So whatever we have done, it has an impact on the economy and health of our country. Omega-3 can boost poultry industry. Omega-3 dairy product can boost the dairy industry. Omega-3 atta can make bakery industry. Omega-3 chocolate is confectionery. Omega-3 enriched edible oil can boost edible oil. Omega-3 enriched nutritional products can support nutraceutical industry. Omega-3 enriched herbal products add value to these products. Finally, it can achieve omega-3 nutritional security and good health for the people. This is the objective. Internet connection is unstable. Not going to go. So take home message is 90% of your health problem is because of food, and solution to this problem is also food. Ensure sufficient amount of essential nutrients, including omega-3 fatty. Consume antioxidant-rich food. Take care of your body, and it is the only place that you live in. That is the message I like to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. As participants, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. I think there are no questions for the participants. Sir, you had explained about the concept of free radicals and have conveyed us that medicines cannot be substituted for nutrients. For a revolution to occur, sir, am I audible to you? Yes, madam. Okay.
You are being interrupted. Your voice is getting disrupted. Tell me.
Okay, sir. There are no questions for the participants, sir. They have not put the questions. I think they have understood the importance of how omega-3 is going to help in their healthier life to be healthy. So with this, in a nutshell, I will be briefing the talk what Hegde sir had conveyed us. So he had conveyed us and explained the concept of free radicals and have told about that the medicines cannot be substituted for nutrients. For a revolution to occur, he has worked in all stages from concept generation to pilot plant and have ignited all the academic researchers who has participated here in the session. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us and convincing about the use of omega-3 and healthier option to be included in the diet. I'm thankful to you to accept our invitation, sir, and enlighten us. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Vividha. Before that, I would like to present the certificate, the virtual certificate. So kindly accept the same.
Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, Vividha.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Hegde, sir, for your excellent presentation with detailing out the information about omega-3 fatty acid.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And sir, your energy is motivating for us.
Yes.
Thank you. It is omega-3 which is working with me.
Absolutely.
So since last week, we have also started consuming the omega-3 eggs.
You understand nutrition, you can always live good, healthy life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So as madam said, we have now all the staff members, we have started using the eggs which are enriched with omega-3 fatty acids.
Yes.
I think your voice is getting disconnected.
Yes, sir. I think there is an issue of low bandwidth.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay,
Thank
Dr. Vividha.
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir. So we'll be ending the meeting.
I was not audible all the time, it looks like. Is that
no, sir.
Sir,
you are absolutely audible on our part.
Am I was audible all the time?
Yes,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. All the 82 slides we were able to see, and we had understood the concept what you had explained. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So we'll end up the session, and after 5 minutes, we'll be meeting for Anand sir's session again with the same link.
I wanted you to understand the importance of omega-3 for your healthy life.
Yes.
That's all.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
And we are able to provide it.
Yes, sir, definitely. So I request all the participants that you can kindly join the meeting again with the same link after 5 minutes for another session by Dr. Anand on omega-3 fatty acids. And of course, if you have the questions regarding the present session, we can have it together along with the second session also later on. Thank you.